short term, how do you see Bitcoin's play or reaction here? As you know, a lot of folks disappointed with the cryptocurrency start to the new year. Its worst start in history, really.
Yeah. So what I would say to that is, one, again, it depends on what time frame you're looking at. So obviously we know that Bitcoin has been one of the best performing assets in the world, 200% compounded annual growth rates since its inception. And then it depends on what period you want to look at. So year over year, it was up 30%. So it's definitely beat inflation year over year. If you want to look at 18 months or 24 months, now we're talking 300-400%. So that's beat inflation as well. Now, if you want to talk in the last 30 days, obviously the last 30 days has been down. So, we did reach a high of about 69,000. It's pulled back. It's kind of consolidated in this like 40,000 range. But again, if I'm zooming out, what I would look at is that over the last 2 years, it's gone from 3,000 to we're sitting in, in the 40-ish range right now. But I think if you look at it a little bit differently, it scaled all the way up to 65,000, pulled back, and it consolidated in the $30,000 range. That was like in May of 21 after China shut down all the Bitcoin miners. It then continued to, I think that took about 75 days-ish that it sat in that 30,000 range. It then shot up to 69,000. So from 65 to 69,000. And now it's pulled back into the 40,000-ish range and it's consolidating there. So what I'm looking at is like the progress up. So it consolidated at 30. Now it's consolidating at 40. And so to me, that looks like positive progress. Like I said, year over year, it's done really well. The last 30 days, it hasn't. But again, I just don't think that we should be zoomed in that far. I think one thing about Bitcoin that's very difficult for a lot of people to understand is that it's a lot of things. So we're witnessing a technological revolution, not just a new technology, but a revolution. And so a technological revolution, there's been 5. So we have like the Industrial Revolution, steam engines and steel, electricity, automobiles, and telecommunications, the microprocessor. And each one of those changed the way the world works. And if you look at like electricity, if we were back there during the day, we'd say, what is this electricity? What does it do? Well, it's sort of like this digital candle. Well, what do we need a digital candle for? Candles have been light for 5,000 years. It's been fine. And look, it's portable. Look how much better it is. But electricity changed the way the world worked. And I think with Bitcoin, we're also witnessing this technological revolution. And so it's a lot more than just what we think it is right now. And so when you're looking at a new technology, and this is just a key point, that when you're looking at new technology, you can't really look at the daily price of it. You're really trying to look at 2 things. One is the growth of the network. Are more users coming on? Is Metcalfe's law kind of playing out? Is the network growing? And then 2, is there development happening on the network? Is it growing? And so as long as those 2 things are going, then I think the short-term price is kind of a distraction in my opinion. You're investing in brand new technology. So, I mean, go back and look at the darling Amazon, for example, right? And so it's had massive volatility over its, the last 2 decades. I mean, it's crashed 80-90% multiple times. Yeah. But again, if you believe in that Amazon was going to become this world leader in e-commerce, then you kind of have to stay in it. And I like to go to Warren Buffett, who's definitely not a Bitcoin fan. But, Warren Buffett has said many good things. One of the things, his partner, Charlie Munger, said is that the big money is not made in the buying and the selling. It's made in the waiting. And so Warren Buffett said if a new investor came into his career and knew he only had 20 trades his entire career, he could outperform everybody. And that's because you would identify the big trends, you'd get in early, and then you just have to wait for that trend to develop. And I think that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is the biggest trend that we'll ever see in our lifetime. I believe over the next decade, we'll see most of the world's wealth move over to Bitcoin. And I think if we allow that to develop, we can have massive returns. But when you're trying to get on something so revolutionary, I just don't know if you can manage it on a monthly basis. I look at inflation as the Austrian view of inflation, which is it's the money supply that inflates. And when the money supply inflates, it starts causing distortions all across the market. It transfers wealth from one group of people to the next. George Washington, our founding father, warned us that the bankers would use inflation and deflation, and the children would end up owning nothing on the continents their forefathers had conquered. And so it's through using inflation inflation and deflation, increasing the money supply and decreasing the money supply, that causes all these distortions. And I broke down in the talk I gave with a bunch of charts to show even societal distortions. So since 1971, when we broke apart from the Federal Reserve, or I should say, sorry, from the gold standard, the obesity rate, the divorce rate, the unwed mother rate, the incarceration rate have just completely skyrocketed from that day. And it's all because of the money. So that's where I identify the problem. And then if we want to solve that, then what we need is a new system that no person can control, not just a different group of people, but no people. We need a system that has a fixed supply cap instead of an unlimited supply cap like the US dollar or like a lot of cryptocurrencies. And then we need something that has a fixed rule of law instead of governance, right? We don't want changing law. That's one of the problems that we have today, is that we used to have a constitution that was a rule of law and I could set my life on it. But today we're ruled by men who are arbitrarily changing the rules all the time on us. So let me give you an example back to cryptocurrency. So if I want a fixed supply cap, Bitcoin has 21 million. That's it. We want something that can't have the rules changed on us, immutable law. And we want something that's censorship resistant. Nobody can steal it from me and nobody could stop it, block it, prevent it. To me, that's what we're trying to solve. The world didn't need faster money. Like Venmo and PayPal is pretty dang fast. Like I don't need faster money. So if we want to compare, to your point, like Ethereum's number 2, right, out there. And so the big gripe was that we know Bitcoin has 21 million, but what's the supply cap of Ethereum? So we don't know. And obviously, if we were buying stocks, we'd want to know what the market cap of that stock is. We'd want to know how many shares of stock were outstanding. And so then we can get a market cap. We know Bitcoin has a fully diluted supply of 21 million, but what was Ethereum's? We don't know. So about 5 months ago, I think 5-6 months ago, Vitalik Buterin, the leader of Ethereum, got together and they changed the entire monetary issuance of Ethereum. That sounds like the Federal Reserve. That sounds like the problem that we're trying to get away from. I don't want more of this thing. Right. We have ones like Cardano or, all of these proof of stake ones that have decentralized governance. Mm-hmm. And so what that means is whoever has the most tokens can stake them, and whoever stakes the most gets the most votes, and they can change the rules. I don't want anyone to change the rules. That sounds like the same system that we have today. And so really, if you're I guess that's the answer. Those are the problems that I'm trying to solve from. I believe out of 15,000 cryptocurrencies, there's only one that can do that, and it's just Bitcoin.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
People are so passionate about either loving the asset or hating the asset. So I'm just going to bring up Nassim Taleb, who has compared Bitcoin to a disease. He called it worthless. It's not a currency. It's not a store of value. It's not an inflation hedge or haven for investors. What do you say to those folks that just don't understand Bitcoin, hate Bitcoin, think it's just a massive speculative bubble? What would be your response?
After 2008, after the financial system crashed, I became a gold bug. And so I've been a gold bug. What I found is that I'm a sound money advocate. And so I don't really want to have Bitcoin and gold fight. I believe Bitcoin's superior, but they're both pushing this sound money narrative. But back to the quote that you're reading, I think that is extremely arrogant position to take. And it troubles me that anybody, especially Taleb, would have that viewpoint. And here's why. I believe in freedom. I believe that we have the freedom to choose. And if you look at nations that start crumbling, say Venezuela, for example, they start going kind of back to a barter society. And so they're trading water for batteries, for example. That's what they're using for currency. Money is what we say money is. Mm-hmm. I have the right to trade anything I want for anything I want, including my labor. So for him to say that it's not a store of value, well, it's been my store of value and it's made me a lot of money. I started buying at $300. It's been a very good store of value for me. We know it's a store of value for Microstrategy and other S&P 500 companies. We know it's a store of value for countries like El Salvador. So who is he to say it's not a store of value? It's actually been a very good store of value. And so for him to say that and say, it makes me think that he believes that people don't have the right to choose where they want to store their cash. Some people want to store their money in Pokemon cards. Okay, great. Some people want to store it in real estate, and some people want to choose gold or Bitcoin. Of course, what you store your wealth in matters. But But I can't believe, especially Talib after writing that book, Anti-Fragile, would make a statement like that.
Do you say Bitcoin is stronger, the stronger horse in the game here compared to gold? Why?
Again, right, a candle was light for 5,000 years, but electricity was a better version of that candle because it worked different. And so if you look at the properties of money, so gold emerged as the best form of money. And money has to have, many principles: portable, divisible, durable, saleable, etc. But gold isn't portable. And so as the world started to develop, trying to get gold from the United States to Spain, for example, was very difficult. And so you'd have to sail it across the sea, ships would sink, pirates would take it, etc. And so then we started using ledgers, and then gold went into banks. It became centralized. And then we had a layer 2, which was paper gold certificates, which made it very easy to trade gold, but the gold was centralized in the banks. That led to the United States Act 6102 seizing all the gold and stealing it because it was already in the banks. And so gold doesn't work today in today's world in a sense where you're somewhere else in the world than I am. And I could easily send you Bitcoin right now, but I can't send you gold. The only way I could send you gold again would be if it was in somebody else's safe, and then we used a ledger system. But now we're required to trust that third party. And of course, that's the problem. We don't want to trust. Bitcoin is trustless. And so I can literally send you Bitcoin peer-to-peer, as opposed to gold. We have to trust that it's in there. And again, history shows that it hasn't worked out very well.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is gunr, and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.